In the near future, the air is so polluted that everyone must wear masks when outside, and every home needs a filter. A company called Ethera produces a medicine called AA Remedy, which allows people to breathe freely for 6 hours without a mask. However, it's very expensive and only available to the elite. In a dimly lit lab, Solomon is recording a video explaining that Ethera will eventually ration AIREMEDY. When that happens, people will become desperate, and Solomon plans to start a new trial. Although he knows increasing the dosage of his compound could trigger a fatal immune reaction, he believes it's necessary to save humanity. At that moment, he gets an alert saying the last remaining green zone in the world has also become polluted. This means that in 18 months, 83% of the population will be at risk of deadly toxin exposure. Solomon's friend Spider notices that their lab is being watched, so she comes up with a plan to protect their research. A new party drink called Blue is all the rage, so she suggests that Solomon color his compound the same way. This will make the police think they're drug dealers if caught, and the compound won't be tested. Meanwhile, Ella works as a model for Ethera, promoting their products. Her mother, who was also a model, took her own life, and now Ella has stepped into her shoes. Because of this, other models resent her for being a Nepo baby. Ella keeps her breathing medicine in her mother's old locket. During a break at work, Ella gets a text from her boyfriend, Tully, canceling their date because he's busy. After overhearing other models gossiping about her, Ella texts her best friend, Gina, to hang out. However, Gina is with Tully, as they're secretly having an affair. Tully wants to tell Ella the truth, but Gina reminds him that today is the anniversary of Ella's mother's death, so they decide to wait. Tully drives to a sketchy neighborhood to pick up some party drugs, while Gina waits in the car. Ella calls Gina to complain that Tully didn't pick her up, and now she has to take the train. Gina invites her to a party, but Ella isn't in the mood. After hanging up, Ella overhears a homeless man at the station saying the toxic air is a punishment from God for what humans have done to the planet. Meanwhile, Tully surprises the dealer with his visit. No one is supposed to know where the dealer lives, but Tully tracked him using an app. While waiting for the dealer to prepare his package, Tully watches an interview on TV. Eric, the head of Ethera Research, is answering questions from the public. At first, the callers are ordinary people, but then a distorted voice calling itself Lazarus starts questioning the origins of AI Remedy and claims that the company won't be able to meet the global demand. Eric grows uncomfortable and quickly ends the conversation. While the thugs in the room are distracted, Tully sneaks around and finds the lab where Solomon and Spider are working on the compound, which has now turned blue. He watches Solomon take a small sample and instantly relax, assuming it's a new party drug. After Spider puts the compound in the fridge, Tully sneaks around again to steal it. He then collects his package from the dealer and leaves without anyone noticing. The person watching Solomon notices Tully and Gina. After leaving the TV station, Eric receives a call from the CEO of Ethera, who is also his father. The company's reputation is taking a hit from conspiracy theorists, and the board is upset, so Eric is told he needs to find a solution immediately to keep his job. Back in the lab, Eric tests a new drug on a rat, but the rat dies within minutes. Angry, Eric punches his tablet, and his assistant Angela arrives to inform him that they traced Lazarus's call to Luxembourg. Eric then gets a call from his son, Max, who is secretly contacting him because his parents are divorced. Max mentions that he gave money to a homeless person, and Eric scolds him, calling people like that parasites. The call is interrupted by Eric's ex-wife, who announces they are moving to another city. Eric becomes worried about Max living in the dangerous red zone. That evening, Ella returns home and stares at a magazine cover of her mother with her baby self. She realizes the industry only values her because she looks like her mom. At that moment, Ella gets a call from her dad, who is overseas helping the poor. Ella resents him for this, and when he tells her she shouldn't be alone today, she hangs up on him. Feeling lonely, she decides to go to the party after all. At the party, Gina and Tully hide in the bathroom to try the compound Tully stole. Before they can take it, Ella finds them and freaks out when she realizes they're together. An argument breaks out and Tully accidentally drops the compound before he and Gina leave. Alone and feeling depressed, Ella drinks all of the compound. She then goes to dance with Brian to make Tully jealous, but he doesn't seem to care. Moments later, Brian is in the bathroom trying to hook up with another girl when Ella rushes in, feeling extremely sick. The other girl leaves and Brian gives Ella some water, but she ends up throwing up on his shoes. She insults Brian to get him to leave and then collapses on the floor. Seconds later, Ella receives a text from Gina asking if they can talk, but she ignores it. Instead, she fills the bathtub with cold water to calm her body, which feels like it's burning. In the living room, Tully finally realizes the compound is missing. As he searches for it, Solomon and his thugs find him and start chasing him through the house. They reach the bathroom, where Ella hides underwater while the thugs beat Tully until he admits he lost the compound. After the group leaves to search the house, Ella surfaces and tells Tully that she took the compound. Tully runs to tell Solomon, but when the group returns, Ella is gone. They don't believe Tully when he says she was hiding in the tub because no one can hold their breath for that long. Suddenly, Tully pulls out a gun and Spider tackles him to the ground, causing him to accidentally fire the weapon. Tully collapses from blood loss, and Solomon ties a belt around his leg wound while the others go searching the house again. Spider yells that the cops are coming and the partygoers scatter. After Solomon and his group leave, Tully wakes up to find Ella hiding on the ceiling. She jumps down gracefully, and Tully notices strange spots on her arm, but she thinks they're just a reaction to the compound. Solomon locked the door when he left, so Ella angrily punches it, surprising herself with the hole she creates. She leaves the bathroom but finds the thugs guarding the front door. So she returns and breaks the bathroom skylight with newfound strength. Ella and Tully take some AI remedy before climbing out of the bathroom to reach the roof. The noise catches the thugs' attention, and Ella jumps to another building. Tully tries to follow, but his injury makes him slip. Ella easily catches him, as her hand is now very sticky. Gina, who sees this from the street, runs around the house to find them. The duo tries to escape, but Tully slips again and falls. Ella jumps after him, but by the time Gina arrives, she finds Tully dead and believes Ella pushed him. While Gina calls the police, Ella runs from the thugs again. She jumps over a fence and collapses in front of Brian's car. He takes her away just before the police arrive. The mysterious person following Solomon has been watching and now knows about Ella. At Brian's apartment, he tries to get handsy with the unconscious Ella. She wakes up and punches him to get him off her. Brian mentions that he's been cut, and Ella notices a claw emerging from her elbow, hidden under her skin. While Brian runs away in fear, Ella goes to the bathroom and sees more strange blotches on her body that won't wash off. The claw reappears, so she uses scissors to cut it off. Afterward, Ella rushes to the hospital and shows the unusual marks on her face to get attention quickly. The nurse thinks she's sick and should be quarantined, so she calls security. Ella inmediatamente corre y se esconde dentro de una habitación de un paciente, utilizando la pegajosidad de sus manos para subir la pared y esconderse en el techo. She asks the patient to stay quiet, and the girl doesn't speak when the guard passes by. Once the guard leaves, Ella gives the sick girl all the AI remedy she has. Meanwhile, Eric gets information about Tully's death, and Ella because he had sent someone to follow them. Brian has told the police about Ella's claw, and now Eric becomes interested in her. Solomon and Spider arrive at Brian's apartment and find the claw in the sink. Eventually, Ella finds Gina, but when Gina sees her, she runs away. Ella chases her down and tackles her to the ground, trying to explain she needs help. Gina eventually lets her into her apartment, where Ella looks at herself in the mirror and realizes her skin is worsening and her nails are coming loose. Then she feels a strong craving for meat. Ella grabs a burger from Gina's fridge before taking her phone. With Tully's phone in the hands of the thugs, she texts them asking what they want. When the affair topic comes up, another argument erupts between Gina and Ella. Ella confiesa que toda su vida ha sentido falsa, y ella había creído que Gina era su única verdadera amiga, pero ahora se da cuenta de que estaba equivocada. In response, Gina points out that Ella sometimes acts like a brat and hurts others with her attitude. As the microwave beeps, Ella, filled with rage, grabs the door and rips it off. At that moment, Solomon calls and Ella agrees to meet him later. Gina suggests calling the police, but Ella aggressively stops her, making Gina realize she's afraid of her. Meanwhile, in Luxembourg, Eric's men enter an abandoned room searching for Lazarus, but all they find is the tablet used to make the call. There's a message for Eric, mocking him for not having enough resources to continue producing AI Remedy and accusing him of fearing competition. Eric, after reading the message, calls his father, asking for a few weeks to finish a new formula as he wants to spend some time with his son before his departure. However, his father only grants him 3 days. Back to Ella, she's eating raw meat while Gina tries to track Tully's phone. Before heading out to meet Solomon, Ella tells Gina that once this is over, she never wants to see her again. Soon after, Ella meets Solomon, who distracts her so Spider can sneak up and kidnap her. Gina witnesses this from a distance and uses the phone tracker to follow them. Solomon and Spider take Ella to their hideout, which is spotted by one of Eric's men. Once inside, Ella is tied to a chair, but she grows another claw to break free. Finding some meat on the counter, she devours it raw. When Solomon and Spider return, Ella grabs a knife and spits acid at them, burning Spider's hand. Just then, the police arrive and start pounding on the door. Solomon hands Spider the last compound sample and tells her to run. Solomon tries to convince Ella to trust him, but their conversation is cut short when the police break in and arrest Ella for assaulting Brian and killing Tully. Some officers discover the lab and arrest Tully, assuming he is the leader. Gina watches her best friend being taken away, unsure of who to trust anymore. Later, in prison, Ella touches her neck and notices blotches spreading to her ear, which then falls off, allowing a strangely shaped ear to grow in its place. Ella covers her head with a hood, while Solomon explains that his goal is to find an alternative to AI Remedy that can benefit everyone, regardless of social status. Their conversation is interrupted by Eric's arrival. He reveals that Solomon once worked for Ethera and examines Ella's changes, concluding that her DNA is mutated and she is no longer human. Eric then heads to the basement where one of his men is torturing Solomon. After reading through Solomon's criminal record, Eric offers him a chance to return to work for the company. But Solomon refuses, insisting that the medicine should be available to everyone, regardless of class. Eric disagrees, arguing that humans are responsible for the environmental destruction, and he should decide who survives. When Ella wakes up, half of her face has mutated. Eric explains that her transformation allows her to breathe polluted air, and her body is producing an enzyme that could be used to create more AI Remedy. He manipulates her, claiming he tried to contact her father but couldn't find him, and that Solomon isn't cooperating because he wants all the credit. Eric promises to restore her to normal after more tests if she agrees. Trusting him, Ella signs the papers before being sedated again. The next time Ella wakes up, her new ears allow her to hear Eric speaking with his father, even though he's on the other side of thick glass. She learns that Eric doesn't want to conduct simple tests. Instead, he He plans to extract the enzyme through a procedure that will likely kill her. Ella also discovers that her father has filed a missing person report, but Eric is bribing the police. Furious, Ella pounds on the glass, prompting Eric to release gas into her room to put her to sleep again. Later, Spider arrives at the facility in a stolen company van, pretending to deliver stock. The security guard, distracted by video games, lets her pass. Meanwhile, two doctors head to Ella's room to prepare for the procedure, only to discover her bindings have been broken. Ella reveals she's awake and begins attacking the doctors until they tell her where Solomon is. The security guard finally notices the chaos and activates the alarm. Ella drags one of the doctors to the door and uses his fingerprint to unlock it and escape. She makes her way to the basement but hears a guard approaching. Hiding on the ceiling, she spits acid in his face, knocking him down. When he tries to draw his gun, Ella knocks him out. Ella then searches for Solomon, who explains that he wants the formula to be available to everyone. He refers to her mutations as side effects, prompting Ella to angrily push him against the wall, questioning how this could be better than the masks. Meanwhile, Eric arrives at his private airport to pick up his son, Max, who is upset because his father is late. Upon arriving at the facility, Eric learns that Ella has escaped, so he leaves Max with Angela before joining the search. Angela, refusing to babysit, leaves Max in Eric's office where he finds Ella's locket. The guards are closing in on the tunnel, but Solomon shows Ella the vents. Using her sticky hands and super strength, she climbs through and pulls Solomon up, managing to escape before the guards can catch them. At the same time, Spider plants bombs and sends a message warning the company of an explosion in 9 minutes. Angela suggests evacuating, but Eric dismisses the bomb as a distraction. Solomon and Ella make their way to the lab, where Solomon uses a hologram to explain that the main ingredient in AI Remedy comes from a specific dragonfly species found only in Africa. These dragonflies are the only creatures unaffected by the polluted air, and Ella is becoming one of them. The dragonfly species has gone extinct due to Ethera's production, and synthetic ingredients don't work. That's why Eric wants to harvest Ella. Solomon has been working with Lazarus to perfect the formula by combining it with other animals' DNA, planning to distribute it globally. Suddenly, one of the bombs explodes, and Ella and Solomon begin running again. Hearing someone approaching, Solomon tackles them to the ground, only to discover it's Spider. Gas starts filling the basement, so the group rushes upstairs and hides in a bathroom. In one stall, Ella finds Max hiding from the bomb. He calls her a fairy, and she plays along, offering her hand. Max, comforted, gives her the locket. The group continues fleeing through the building until they encounter Eric, who blocks their way with a gun. Solomon and Spider manage to avoid him, but Ella uses Max as a shield, threatening to harm him with her mutations if Eric doesn't back off. Eric shoots anyway, but Ella narrowly dodges the bullet. She lets go of Max, and the boy distracts his father while Ella jumps from floor to floor until she reunites with Solomon and Spider in the elevator. They rush to the garage and steal a van to escape. The guards open fire, but Eric orders them to keep Ella alive, so they shoot at the van's tires as it crosses the gate. The vehicle crashes and lands on its roof, but when the guards approach, they discover only Spider inside. Meanwhile, Solomon and Ella escape into the forest, where Ella breaks a fence with her claws. All the guards pursue them, leaving just one man watching Spider. She pretends to be sick and knocks him out to escape as well. Ella and Solomon reach a bridge, and Solomon tells Ella to jump to escape. She doesn't want to leave him behind, so he shows her his mutated arm. Having only taken a small dose of the compound, he's unsure he'll survive. He gives Ella the last sample and asks her to find Lazarus to finish the medicine. Ella gives him her locket before jumping into the river to escape. Solomon is captured, and Eric vows to force him to create another mutant. Later, Gina finds an envelope with a special decorative earpiece she once shared with Ella. That night, Spider hacks into a TV channel and urges the world to change to avoid dying. Meanwhile, Ella's mutations have given her wings, and she uses them to find Lazarus, who turns out to be
In the near
Angela.
future,